In the world of South African high-stakes tenders and political connections, few names have carried as much intrigue, wealth, and controversy as Vusimuzi, Cat Matlala. For years, his empire seemed untouchable. He was the man who appeared to have it all: lavish homes in some of Pretoria's most exclusive suburbs, a fleet of luxury cars worth millions, and a public image built on flamboyance and influence. His rise was fueled by lucrative government contracts, especially in the health services sector, and his lifestyle reflected the kind of opulence few could imagine. But the same corridors of power that once enabled his ascent have now become the backdrop to his spectacular fall. Today, the story of Cat Matlala is no longer one of a self-made tycoon, but rather of a man whose ambition, arrogance, and alleged criminal dealings have left him facing the fight of his life, both in the courts and behind prison walls. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the deals that built Matlala's fortune. One of the most significant was the R$360 million contract awarded to his company, Medicare 24 Tshwane District, in June 2023. This tender was meant to provide health risk management services to thousands of police officers over a 3-year period. On paper, it was a lucrative and important project. In reality, it became a minefield of irregularities. There were claims of tampered documents, questionable appointments, and conflicts of interest. Among the more striking red flags was the role of former police brigadier Petunia Lenono, who served on the bid evaluation committee before joining Matlala's firm during the life of the contract, a move that broke clear rules against such conflicts. These irregularities formed the basis of growing unease within the police leadership, with National Police Commissioner General Fannie Masemola eventually terminating the deal. The cancellation was a massive blow to Matlala's operations, but rather than quietly challenging it through formal channels, he made a move that would become one of his biggest strategic missteps. On May 13, 2025, his lawyer sent a sharply worded letter to General Masemola, threatening legal action if the decision was not reversed. This was more than a dispute over business. It was a direct challenge to one of the most powerful law enforcement figures in the country. Instead of intimidating Masemola, it triggered an even deeper investigation into Matlala's affairs, exposing a network of questionable practices and alleged corrupt ties within the police. The timing of all this could not have been worse for Matlala. Already in custody over unrelated charges, he found himself the subject of a surprise raid at Kosi Mampuru Correctional Center in July 2025. During the search, officials discovered a cell phone in his possession, a serious violation of prison rules. He claimed it had been given to him by another inmate who had since been released, but investigators could not verify this story. The device was handed over to the police for forensic analysis, and what they found only deepened the storm around him. Messages, contacts, and other data from the phone reportedly provided fresh leads into his dealings, both inside and outside the prison. As a result, authorities reclassified him as a high-risk inmate and moved him to the maximum security CMAX section, ensuring he would be under constant surveillance. The scandal surrounding the phone wasn't just about prison contraband. It was symbolic of a bigger issue. It suggested that even behind bars, Matlala had ways to communicate, influence, and possibly coordinate activities. It also cemented the perception that he believed he could operate above the rules, a perception that has been both his brand and his downfall. In the court of public opinion, the cell phone incident fed into a broader narrative about how individuals with money and connections often find ways to bend the system. Looking deeper into his financial and business practices, a troubling pattern emerges. While he was raking in millions from government deals, subcontractors and employees were left in financial limbo. People like Fidel Molloy, who handled parts of the Medicare 24 contract, were owed millions and faced financial ruin. Staff salaries were delayed or only partially paid, and deductions for taxes and insurance were not handled properly. Offices lost water and electricity due to unpaid bills, even as Matlala continued to live in multi-million rand homes and drive cars that cost more than most people will earn in a lifetime. His midstream ridge estate was bought for $8.1 million and reportedly paid off within a year. He rented a mansion in Watercliff Ridge for $95,000 a month and leased a penthouse in Menlyn, Maine. The luxury extended to personal indulgences. His wife Tsakani reportedly traveled to Turkey for cosmetic surgery, and the family frequently showcased designer outfits worth tens of thousands of rand on social media. But Matlala's troubles are not confined to financial irregularities. He also faces serious criminal charges related to a 2023 shooting on the N1 highway near Santon, where socialite Tabogo Thobjane and her friend Anil were targeted. Anil was left paralyzed from the attack, while Thobjane suffered trauma and injury. The case, complicated by allegations of a romantic feud involving Matlala and his co-accused, paints a darker picture of the man behind the wealth and contracts. The charges against him include attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and money laundering. The political dimension of his story makes it even more explosive. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Mlamlam Kwanatsi has linked Matlala to a broader network of corruption within the police, suggesting he had ties to senior political figures, including Police Minister Sensom Chunu and former Minister Becky Seal. Allegations include irregular tenders, protection schemes, and even personal hospitality, such as Seal reportedly staying at Matlala's penthouse. These claims are now the subject of internal disciplinary processes, with data from multiple devices seized from Matlala's home forming part of the evidence. The fallout from this saga could be far-reaching. On one hand, it exposes the vulnerabilities in South Africa's tender system, where insider connections and manipulated processes can lead to massive contracts being awarded despite glaring irregularities. On the other hand, it highlights the challenges of cleaning up corruption when those implicated are embedded deep within powerful institutions. The coming months will be crucial. The courts will determine the legal outcome, but the broader public will be watching to see whether this is another case where a powerful figure escapes true accountability, or if it marks a turning point in the fight against state capture and tender corruption. The stakes are high, not just for Cat Matlala, but for the credibility of South Africa's justice system. If you've been following this story, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Cat Matlala was brought down by his own arrogance, or is he simply a product of a deeply flawed system? And more importantly, what steps do you think should be taken to prevent scandals like this in the future? Make sure to share your views in the comments, subscribe to the channel for more in-depth political breakdowns, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. The conversation is far from over, and your voice matters in shaping it.